Haiti. Dr. Sabine Lamour, who is a sociologist and university professor. She's also a feminine, a female activist. And the other one is responsible for, is an administrator at the hospital Justinien in Haiti. We're going to have Maïté Justin. She's not there yet. She's an educator, an administrator, and Thaylor Julien, who works as the manager of artists. I thank everybody. I thank all four of you for your presence today. And I'd like to advise everyone that our panelists are in Haiti. There may be some issue with the Wi-Fi because of the situation there. So if the Wi-Fi becomes weak a little bit, to turn off your videos so that we can listen to you well, because the essence of today is the audio. Good morning, Maïté. September 14th, the Haitian government announced an increase in the price of gasoline in Haiti from 250 good to 570 good. The diesel was 543 to 600. Kerosene gasoline was bumped to 352 good. In February, the workers' salaries is only 685 good for a whole day of work. For several weeks, no banks, no pumps, no gas pumps worked, and the new prices have not become effective. People are paying gas on the streets, 3,000 good, 5,000 good, depending on the areas where they live. In the area, if we have a shortage fuel, it's because there is not enough fuel. And that reflects the way we've been living in the country for several years. It's important to talk about all the events that led us to where we are today. July 6, 2018, the government of La Fontaine caused several protests at the beginning. August 14, 2008, this is when the Petro Challenge began. The Petro Caribbean program was supposed to facilitate the construction of infrastructure and social programs, but that's not what happened. November 13, 2018, there were more than 7,000 people who lost their lives. The locked country phenomenon started in November 2018. Several protests that continued until 2021, and July 7, 2021 was the assassination of Jovenel Moïse. Kidnapping continued. During the discussion, the panelists will add other elements, but this was to give you a context of what's going to happen today. But the essence of it is fuel shortage. I'm going to start with first question for all the panel members to give you an idea of where they are in the country, the different towns, the different areas, and professionally where they are, what their thoughts are. What is the impact of the situation that we're living, the impact of the situation in Haiti now? When I talk about impact, I'm talking about professional impact, anything you want. I'm going to start with Sabine Lamour. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks to FIU for receiving this panel. And I'm saying good morning to all the other panelists on the platform as well, who are here to discuss the matter. The impact, personally and professionally, for me, what I can say is what I think. Personally, I live a situation where we realize since the crisis began in 2018, well, there was some friction since 2017, but the issue of energy, how to resolve it, the money to buy it, how we manage that, the wealth distribution. Personally, I think the drama that we live collectively in Haiti for about 3 or 4 years, we're realizing how it impacts our lives personally. How you get into the streets, how you do your groceries, how you do things, your relations with other people, relationship with your families, relationships with the rest of the country. You can't travel to the countryside. How it impacts your life. If you have a child in your household, what does that mean to that child in terms of health care and purchase of medications? I am talking about all this ugly stuff, but during that time, I had people who are close to me who are elderly and babies, and I think, and I'm looking at the way it impacts them at every moment. One of the ways that it impacted me every day, more and more, you realize your ability to face these problems diminishes. It has an impact on your mental health. You become irritated. Some simple things for you to take care of them, you cannot take care of them. Go out to go to any institution to get some documents, you can't. And while you're doing that, while you're living that nightmare, you're realizing inside your drama, there are people whose situations are much more grave, more serious than yours. And I'm not comparing the two in terms of the gravity of the drama. Even professionally, if you work independently, how do you leave your area to go somewhere else to do the work? And people who work at 8 in the morning, you come back home at 4 in the afternoon because you cannot get any contracts. It reduces your professional links, your professional liaisons. It's because of the internet. And in the long run, when you live in the same space as someone else who faces the same situation, you wonder how come you have a Zoom or a Skype who serves as a medium, as a mediator in the relationship, which causes the social habits. You don't have a social life anymore because the streets, you can't get onto the streets because it's dangerous. Anything can happen to you on the streets. You come to realize even the the relationships you had with people, even the street vendors used to have a relationship with them. After a while, you don't see those vendors anymore. You don't know what problems they have, what happened to them, why you don't see them anymore. These are all elements who makes us realize that this crisis is not dimensional, one dimensional. It impacts everybody, whether it's on a social basis, on a professional basis. It's a crisis that forces us to take stock of our lives. What relationships do you want to develop with the territory? That's the way I live it. I don't live it just for myself, but I live it with all the social activities of all the other individuals in your lives. You can't speak to them. Even when you have to organize a meeting, the location, it has become so hostile. You can't even stay there to attend the meeting, which impacts the quality of what you're doing and the relationships that you try to develop with these people. Thank you, Sabine. Thank you very much. That was very important. Dr. Saint-Fleur? Let me thank FIU because they organize this activity, which allows me to share information that I have the way I see things happening in the country. I congratulate the panel as well. As Professor Sabine Lamour just said, the fuel problem impacts everybody. It personally impacts me. For example, at home, I don't live in the town of Cape Haitian. I live a little bit outside of the town. I have to limit the amount of time that I spend outside. For example, I used to participate in Toastmasters activities in the evening. I can't do that anymore because I don't have a car. I, I would have to get on a motorcycle, but I can't do that anymore. The gasoline used to cost less than 50 good. Now it's 3,000, 4,000 good. If you do that every day, you're not going to have any money left to eat or to pay school for the kids. And I have kids. The kids, I used to go out with them, and now I can't do that anymore. Not only that, I'm on foot. I ride my bicycle. The kids have to stay at home in the yard, so I can't go out with them. Even my professional activities, the electricity company in Haiti does not provide with electricity, has not provided electricity for a long time. You can't get the fuel. People can't go out. You don't function every day. You function in a limited amount of time. Professionally, I work at the hospital Justinien as a pediatrician and as a trainer, I try to test tools that foreigners try to utilize to improve the training that I provide at the hospital. I can't go out often. All the plans that I have, they can't implement them. Even the residents receiving the training, there are kids they're supposed to receive to gain certain competency. At a certain point, they don't come anymore. But 2 months ago, we used to have between 250 people. Now it's less than 10 a day. In the admission room, the patients don't want to stay there anymore. It prevents you to do the training that you would like to do. It stops you from using the tools that you were testing. The fuel shortage, the fuel problem, it effectively impacts everybody, everywhere. It's an urgent situation that has to be resolved. Otherwise, the population is going to pay the price because they won't be able to go to receive health care. They can't go to go see their doctor to receive the necessary care. The businesses that would allow them to earn the money to pay for the services, because the healthcare is not free, they won't be able to find the money to pay for their healthcare. It's a situation that is extremely grave. It's the first time that I'm living such a crisis in Haiti, and the longer it goes, the more consequences that it's going to have, the more impact it's going to have on our mental health. I think the government, Haitian government, needs to reflect on that to find ways to resolve the problem as soon as possible, to reduce the impact it already has on us and that it will have on us in the future. Thank you very much for your perspective. And as you said, the impact is already there. It's already grave. Manitou, can you tell us, please, the impact of the situation on you personally and professionally? This is Maïté Trouillot speaking. Thank you very much, Nadej, and thank you also to the panelists. It's clear, you said it's clear that we've had this fuel shortage for a long time ago. We've been going there for a while. A country where most of the citizens live in poverty. They don't have the means of facing hunger and diseases. Who could, besides the people who work for the government could say that they trust the government. Who besides the people who work for the government could say they receive great services? Every day, victims are denouncing corruption, impunity. There is crisis in the country. The fuel shortage has been going on. It didn't start in October. It didn't start today. And it's not only a fuel shortage that causes the fuel shortage. The government, this regime, PHTK, they haven't done anything. We've become poor. The level of security has increased. Inequality has increased. How has the situation has impacted us? I cannot talk for everybody in the panel, but I can talk about myself. We are bad, and we are very bad. And I don't think there is any area in the country that can say they're doing good. Today, the worst thing is when will this stop? When will we come out of that? Adding to all the problems that caused the fuel shortage, the government, which is a de facto government, made a second decision to increase the price of fuel with a pretext, with an excuse that if we increase the price, you will be able to find the gas because before we couldn't find it. They said because fuel prices have gone up everywhere, it has to go up in Haiti too. The second reason is that the price of gas has gone up everywhere. But there are lots of things that are different in other places. There are things that have to do with the respect of the rights of people in other places that the government does not apply here. We cannot be well here. We cannot be well because we don't see how tomorrow is going to be. We don't know if we're going to do well tomorrow. I'm thinking of the kids relative to my profession. I don't know, how do I see a child to begin in tomorrow? What do I have to offer them? When the child becomes of an age where they understand things, how do I tell them that? An adult, an elderly person, I can say, well, I'm at the end of my life. But a young person with their future ahead of them, that they can make decisions down the road. We have to protect their future, their tomorrow. We're not good, unfortunately, and I don't know with this government if we'll be in good shape. Thank you.
Merci Maïté.
Thank you, Maïté. It's it's not it's not a pleasant outlook. Radjiv Zéphirin. Okay. Greetings to everybody, all the panel members and everybody who's listening. It's a pleasure for me to be with you to talk about the situation in the country. I'm going to start by saying the situation that we're living today is an aggravated version of the situation that we've been living in the country for a long time. And it has to do with the relationship we have with the international community that causes chaos, total chaos in the country. I think Nadej pointed out correctly. It's the insecurity problem with the fuel shortage put together that put us where we are. Our economic situation, if you're someone who lives in Haiti and your salary is in good and the rate of change is in US dollars, the rate of inflation will cause you to be poorer. Besides the rate of inflation, someone who rents an apartment or a house in Haiti, even if the rent doesn't go up, the the amount of good you need to buy the dollars causes problems. Everything you need today to procure services, you need more goods to buy the US dollar. And if your salary does not increase, you're in a really difficult situation. That's the first thing. The second thing is there's a fear that grips everybody in Haiti. I don't know if your friends and your family members, you don't know when they go out if they're going to be victims of flying bullets. Another important point that we can look at together, the sentimental situation of these people. People say it's not positive, they don't feel well, mentally they're not well. Young people who live in Haiti now, the reality is pretty poor. And me as a manager, what I can tell you about that, you don't know if you can go out in public, if you can plan activities outside, if you can go to a concert, because there's no nightlife. There's nothing. To finish with that, it's a bit personal for me. I'm from Tigouave. My parents live in the town of Tigouave. They live in Tigouave. Because of the situation, I cannot go to Tigouave because the southern area is cut off entirely from the metropolitan area. Whether my parents have problems or whether or not they need stuff to live, in Haiti, we take care of our parents when we can. I can't go. We only speak on the phone. It's been a while since I've spoken to them because of the situation. It's a very difficult situation the way we're living today. Thank you very much, Najib, for this perspective. What you talk about, your relationship with your parents, it's not a temporary thing. That's a situation that's been going on for several years. It's not as if you spend 2 weeks or a month, you don't see your parents. It's been going on for a while. One of the reasons, Maïté spoke about that, one of the reasons the government said they have to increase the price of fuel because of this, the way they're paying for it. The people who have money were already benefiting from that. But the people who live in Haiti don't see it that way. I'd like for one or more of you to say a few words about that. The people who have money, are they benefiting from the government's participating in the paying a bit of the price of gas for them? Well, well, Haiti is not a country that invests in energy sources. I'm talking about gas, products for home and companies. People who benefit from grants that the government provide, I don't know. Even if I'd agree that they benefit from it, but for me, understanding the problem of grant subsidies by the government, we're talking about a country where 52.3 people live in poverty, where more than 50% lives with less than $2.40 a day. Probably it's less than it. In February 2021, the salary was 585 good a day. The gas went from 250 to 570, which means a worker who makes 585 good a day cannot buy a gallon of fuel. Now, increasing the price of fuel already has consequences on the lives of the people because they have to pay for public transportation. Some people cook with an electric oven or a gas oven. There are no measures that the government uses to accompany these people. They don't give them any subsidies. I have not seen any. I have not seen any subsidies in a while. The worker, if they would get a subsidy on the cost of transportation, there is no social safety net. Can't hear. There are sources of corruption. There are no serious programs to help the poor people of Haiti. They continue to send their kids to school, the same schools that they've been in. In reality, when the price of gas goes up, that worker feels it directly. They don't have any support from the government. Everything that they need to function every day, they continue to pay them the same way. Somebody who earns 585 good a day, they pay already 100 good only for gas. And because they have to use public transportation, and I'm not talking about motorcycles. And if you're talking about the wealthy benefiting from the increase of the gas station, the lower class people, economic class people also benefit. How do you ask someone at the lower totem pole, at the lowest totem pole of the country, when they hear on the radio a minister of the government has an apartment that brings in millions of good a day, a minister's traveling every day, member of the cabinet going on trips. Why is it that it's the poorest people that have to make considerations relative to the price of gas? Because it's not fair. There is something that's also important. Why are the folks who import gas in Haiti don't agree with the price increase? Why is it that it's the poorer people making all the concessions? To finish with that, even if the people who are wealthy benefit, the people who are poor also benefit from the gas. When the government stops the subsidy of the price of gas, the government has to create stronger safety net for the people because they're not benefiting from anything right now. And the other thing now, I think the increase in the price of gas, it's not measured well. Thank you,
Thank
Roger.
you,
You
Radjiv. You gave a lot of
a lot of
explanation for
information.
us and what's
Claudine, go ahead,
happening.
Claudine.
The thing about no electricity 24/24 that we're promised. So even if it's a businessman, it's a market, it's a me, I'm buying in the market, I have to watch out for that express money going up because it acts on my economy, on my finances too. It cuts on our activities, it cuts on what we are doing. Labi, I'm not going to see the way that Maïté explained her own part of the idea. We know how the separation of riches is distributed in Haiti. There's always one group of people who just takes over everything that we have and every obstacles that we have. It's that same situation that's happening to us with the gas problem, because it just shows that all the problems again on how the people accumulate those riches. How does it work on down in this society? See, all these elements, gas, the price of gas, and prices of regular staples per day to see how the society is suffering. Of course, there's a question of shortage of fuel in Haiti, but it's not just somebody like that that's complaining about it, because we have to see its relation to the rest of the people and the effects. And now it's become more difficult for us because the state takes over, saying that they have people behind them, but they're like mercenaries. They are standing up there, just taking over and just taking a lot of our riches for themselves. And while they're stealing those things and grabbing and clutching at those riches, they leave no space for us to defend the population. Who represents the population really? It's different clans fighting against each other with the gangs. The state doesn't want to see any gangs because they are fighting for their power, to keep in their power. So our life is left in the hands of these people. You get to the hospital. If you're going to give birth, to see they have no gas, nothing for the hospital to function. So people are dying from lack of health care because of no fuel. We are facing a situation where the state says it will just share its power with certain groups, and for the rest of the population, they don't care. Just take care of yourself and survive. So it's not just a problem of gas that brought Haiti here. Look at the terminals at Varu. Is it something simple for the gang to come and says nobody's going in there? Nobody gives us any explanation because it's a one-sided explanation. And let's go back to see how the illegality in the history of Haiti is based in the Haitian society. What's displayed there is those who have nothing, because those in power just think that we are cows giving out milk, that they can milk us to the extreme. So it's not of that. There are some Haitians that don't care what's happening to the rest of the country and the population. Those people supposedly are leaders. They come and take care of their own business, personal business. We cannot just try to see how we can reverse the run of things and change it just like that. The price of gas is just one of the dimensions of the problems. It's one reason for the nation to take the street, because they see that the status quo would always be the same and they will always be under. I think that we have to take this over. We have to have reflections on this subject, because you have a rage inside of you, you have an anger inside of you. When you see the things that are being done on our land, on our territory, to see collectively, we could all live on the space where we're at. Let's look at how the powers that be, how they direct things, and how the society can change from to each his own. It's not only election we can have. But the leaders, those groups leading those movements, they are the ones with the management of the money of the economy. So us in the population, what happened? Those are the studies we have to do. It's the numbers and the political dynamics who put us there. We got to a situation where we can't anymore, where everything has to be decided to see how to solve the problems in the street. Every day there's a new one. You even have no time for revendication. You have no time, really. Now they're trying to kill all of us and eliminate as many as possible because we have no power that can answer to this aggression they did on the population. Thank you so much, Professor Sabine. We have two other panelists who've come in now.
OK. Merci. Pour moi, qu'à ça, Radjiv avec Sabine Lamour Sodian, c'est très important.
If I can just stand back and behind the expression that we gave of fuel shortage or running out of gas,
c'est est-ce que le gouvernement ça ou le régime ça c'est principalement le vin.
the first political question to ask is this government legitimate? Is this government able to decide? We can ask, what are they saying? Where did they get that price? 138%. When the population is asking where's the gas, like everybody says, it's a product that all our life is based on. How can we survive without and function without gas? The price of gasoline, kerosene, all of them have doubled, if not tripled in price. In our practice, we use kerosene. It's not people with money that buys kerosene. When you take all the ovens that run with kerosene, the people that light their lights with kerosene, and a population already that cannot eat, we are like the government is saying, we will keep you in your suffering. I'm not giving in to anything. The same government took the position. It was the same political party that's in power now, PHTK. They had raised the gas, but they had to bring it down again. And little by little, they raised it. But the population already said from the beginning, we will not accept the raising of the fuel. Don't you see that the violence that's going all over? It's the disparity and the difference between the society and the society. So of course, everything is food more expensive. Food becomes more expensive, the transportation becomes more expensive, everything becomes more expensive. And then for government to decide, this is what they would decide to do. But the violence is systemic in the system of our economy, not government. When I say, like Dr. Lamour said, the price of gas is one of the problems. We have to see how the population uses the gas. And they're right on, they keep the problem with Petro-Caribbean. On starting on the left, there's problems of not eating, insecurity. When we think clearly about it, we see, okay, it's shortage of fuel, but it's more than that. Let the people in Saint-Fleur, how many times rats are biting the babies in the NATO area. And when you hear the Prime Minister saying that everything is fine, but when you have a professor in a public high school who says, I can't come to teach you because of my payroll, I can't even afford the transportation to feed my children, to pay my rent. So do we see that this government for now 12 years, 10 years, 12 years now, that they will be doing anything? When the man said he would leave a little for the rest of people, he will give them some finance, some economy left. I don't want to disturb him in his travel to where he's supposed to go. He died, okay, but we cannot keep getting. Where can we be in agreement to accept that? Me, I have kids in school. We have a bar in the school. If I don't have gas functioning with the children, because that's the only food that is more important for the children, it's a junk food at the children's bar. And I'm talking about the population that more or less makes extra effort to send their children to a school with a bar. And for them to tell you that's their best meal for the day because at home there's nothing. So what can you do? Now the government has so many projects, but we don't see them. They're not for the population. The money is spent.
Dernière intervention sur question gaz là, et puis question gaz là dans ce sens large alors.
Oui, on va ajouter, on d'accord tout ça.
Dr. Saint-Fleur, what I want to add, I want to ask questions. Who has access to anything? People who have money. Who has franchise? Duty free. It's the people with a lot of money. Who has big business and always has gas? The people in the big petrol industry. He's breaking up people. You have to remember gas is a very important product. Who's using? The population, the people. I live outside of Haitian. I need 500 goods to go to the hospital. And I have to pay 500 goods to go back home. All the other employees are like that. So if that's the amount of money that they have to spend to get to work, imagine already. If I could even climb, if the government even put order in the transportation, if I could find a bus who did one route and I could pay and it would drop me by the hospital, not a question of taking motos for 500 goods. But you give monopole to the people you want. The government does what it wants. If you want to raise the gas, raise the gas. And no transportation is good. So how can you get an area in the metropolitan area where you can even find gas? So when you put it that high, if I can't pay the motorcycle 500 goods, I will take a bus. Even if I take a motor, I take a tap, but the bus would be better for me if the government gave us transportation. People who are following here who want to ask any question, ask questions in the chat. So you can ask the chat, so you can choose which operation where you want to write. There's Q&A. But before we get to the questions, I would like to give more specific questions for our panelists. Dr. Rony Saint-Fleur, we will continue with you. What is the country can pass in what we're living now in these last years? What have you seen in the healthcare of the population?
Vous connaissez, là, nous parlons de santé, nous santé physique, nous santé mentale. OK?
When you speak about health, we see physical health and mental health. Any person in the population has no access for hospital care, health care. You take him to the hospital, they don't have gas. They can function. The transportation to the hospital is too expensive. So there's no way they can get health care these days. Or they leave the house for 1 week and go live closer to the place to someone they know. But every day they cannot pay the transportation for every day to come for treatment. So the aspect of any kind of finding a care is zero. For the mental, I was talking to a director of a hospital outside of the station. As the price tripled, he can buy a gallon. He doesn't have anybody to help, to take care of, to give help to give any kind of medical treatment because they cannot get there. So it's an urgency, an emergency in the healthcare department. For the mental health and all those stress of gas, everybody's nervous and they are ready and mad and stressed, and it acts on your physical health. Depression, high blood pressure. The people can't even clean in front of their houses. The mayor cannot pick up the trash. The people are living in the middle of trash. They're breathing that trash in, giving them infectious infectious diseases. They're here, there's breathing the trash. They're living behind the trash. There's nothing that can do because the mayor cannot pick up the trash. There's no gas for the trash trucks. Even if you went asthmatic, breathing problems start developing in you with some of the products in the trash. Someone who's already limited and weak in the pulmonary part of their body. You know, we're walking, the people are asking you, they stop you and they take your money from you, the gangs or the other one. You will be having all kinds of diseases, mental and physical, and with us not to know how to treat you because you cannot even get to the medical establishments in the city, be it an urgent care center, a health center, or a hospital. So I don't see anybody doing their job in the government, the representative of the government outside of Port-au-Prince talking, we call them delegates. They don't give us any hope. They don't give us any hope. They don't talk to the population. And that's what it is. Oui, c'est vrai. Sometimes, il fait ça aborder l'autre question. Problèmes de santé pas petits. They're not small. The health problems, the mental health problems are deeper, and there's no facility for the people. The health minister has traveled. Population doesn't know where he went. We're facing a health crisis, so nothing's important. It's the population. I don't know who would like to talk about the education part. We have Ms. Lamour or Ms. Maïté, who can tell us how the reality of the country is acting in our education system.
Par contre, si ça, une lame, vous voulez commencer? Ou bien.
I don't know if Sabine wanted to start. No, Maïté, you can go.
Pour secteur éducation.
For the education sector, it's really the education part has been lame for a long time. It's been working. We can always say that it's a long time. It's not the gas problem that's giving us problem in education only. We are late in the publishing of the manuals for schooling. Let's talk the different schools where they are. We have schools that trying with whatever little money they have, they can start schooling. And you see the state of the other schools, you see the dirt and the trash and the unpainted broken benches. When cholera just came, let's talk about cholera. There were some numbers that came out, and they're at the deepest part of the country that never has any health centers, never had water. So when we're talking immediately about the problems affecting education in itself, there's much more. We have to say we are in a de facto ministry because we're in a de facto government. And what part is he talking? What country is he talking? Who has light? The hours of power they give to light our house is how much? How can we talk education? We want, yes, changes happen in education, but you cannot choose to exclude a category of people that have no access to school, no access to light, and me fighting with the internet to get here, to participate here. If you're trying to make a child and a professor, there's a context we always forget. Private schools are asking for their money. They send bills to the parents. There are schools that are respectful schools that have children. They pay their teachers 12 months. When you tell them to stop right now, the state makes believe like it doesn't know education and private education. Because we are really helping in private schools, we are helping the state. The state employees cannot send food to the school, they cannot even send their kids to the school. So the private schools are really suffering for the state school. So when they pay their teacher in September, there was no class. So the parents, what bill they cannot pay, but he knows, the private school knows that they have the director of the school has children, and he knows that teachers have to get paid. So when he pays his teachers, he expects the money from you to have your student in the school. It's not his fault. This is a part where they say where they call many courses, and what happened, this teacher, he gives the classes in complicated situation to go and do class on internet, long distance. No, there's no internet. Many times it's not them that don't want, like they have the monopoly. There's nobody, there's about 3 million plus people, because I don't know, that has no smartphone. So the other 7 million, what education will be for? So the state decided to kick them out. Those are the solutions that we work for. We're looking for solutions for these problems. The children are very, we have to watch out and be very aware when we're talking about education. We cannot get those education that the minister, the Chapo, is trying to give us. He says, yeah, it has an electronic version. Electronic version, yes, because each student who can't even eat, who can pay a school, is going to study on the computer. You have one who answers, who does a homework every week or every 2 weeks because there's no connection. Let's not find a solution imported from modernity, because they're modern in part of the world, but here we have no infrastructure. When we look at the manifestations, at the protests in this, with Trey Rocks at the paid school, but he's already lost. The work that he sent, he already lost. So he is not winning anything. Because again this year, it came under this government from 270 students,
The same minister
graduation
that
didn't
claimed there'll be
happen.
no graduation for schools today, they've
That's
already
where you
paid the
do your
school that
graduation for
graduates
philosophy.
kids from high
It's the
school.
same lycée, the same high
It's the
school
same
that's
public schools
asking money.
in the
50 of them
public schools
graduated.
that only graduate 50 kids. Of the 50 who graduate, we can ask how many will go to the university.
Who
How
will
will you
enter
find
in the
access to
university? Who will
university
pay for it?
when a high school student ends his or her education? How are they going to get to the university? They don't know what's going on. The entire future is, I'd like to find a scholarship to leave the country to study somewhere else. You know, we cut their present short. We also cut their future short. The poor parents are they're beginning to remove their kids from private schools. 10-year-old kids who are trying hard. I tried hard. I tried hard to have at least 5 kids graduate out of 10 that start school. Now, out of 10 kids, only 3 graduate. Of the 3, there isn't a single young woman. These are questions to ask. Instead of going forward, we're going backwards. They don't send their little girls to school anymore. Make yourself pretty and go sell your bodies. That's a horrible situation that starts. You're talking about books and uniforms. Uniforms and books, that's a uniform. That would be a way to help people minimize their expenses, to make it common for everybody. But that never took place, never implemented. The the school has there has to be ways of learning for the kids. and they've never improved. They've gotten worse. And we have to admit that. There were, the last 12 years, things have gone backwards. The educational system has gotten worse pretty badly. They don't have access to books, no place to study. There are no means of for the schools to find good books for the kids. They start a new secondary program. We need reforms, yes, but the application of those reforms, when you ask a public high school, they have to have labs, they have to have support. The public high schools don't even have water. Some of these high schools don't even have chalk for the teachers to write on the blackboards. The professors have to, the teachers have to bring them in. The kids have to bring their own chairs. They have to bring their own means of learning, which means before we start talking about modern solutions, modernizing the schools, we have to change the conditions in the schools. We can't ask the kids to learn under those conditions and to be competent in the future. You don't just paint the school and expect improvements. If we continue with this semblances of improvement, we're creating more inequalities in the country. You have two kids in the same class, but they receive different education. I could talk about other problems, but that's one of the things that are important for me to address. The conditions are degrading. We can't ask the kids to learn in those conditions. It makes no sense. I have to ask you to stop for now. Although all the information you gave is very important, I'm watching the time and there are more questions that have been asked. I'd like to add to what you've said. You talked about access to educational services. What impacted me last year, I was working in a school, we were doing Zoom classes. At some point, one professor told me I can do Zoom with the kids, but I don't want them to hear the sound of gunfire in the background. That impacts even the people who have access. The conditions of work are terrible. What is it worth in the situation that we live in? Radjiv, I'd like for you to talk about the artistic sector, artistic and cultural sector. Let's limit it to 2 minutes so that we can take other questions. Okay, well, for that sector, I want to say that situation, it impacts the country's economy globally. Some of these artists, they only work 3 days a week, which means their production is lower. Some of these places are closed because they can't function. In the informal sector, some of these street vendors, they don't perform those activities in the southern part of the country. There's nothing going to Port-au-Prince because of the blockade at Martissan, which impacts the food consumption in the country. The same way the South can't produce food, when it's time for you to send products to them too, they have a difficult time to get it because of the problems on the national roads. They don't have the same reality. The distribution chain is broken. The other aspect that's very important, in 2019, 85% of the people who graduated in Haiti left the country. And today the situation is much worse. You have in a country where kidnapping has really damaged the country. the majority of the people in the country, primarily the people in the middle class, they have to leave the country. Today, banks don't function, universities don't function, there's no welcoming capacity, it's not much. Kids are going to the Dominican Republic, they're going to other countries. It's your currency is fleeing the country. Yeah, it's a brain drain on the country. It's paralyzing the country and the economy. The last 3 or 4 years, there's been contraction in the population. There has been no increase. Now, if you take the cultural sector, people who listen to music, during summer vacation, during the month of December, Christmas vacation, a lot of the Haitian bands who function in foreign countries, they come to Haiti, New Look, they come to Haiti to play during the summer, but now we don't have that. Let's take this situation. Let's say they get paid $6,000 to put together a party. You have to pay for a sound system. That person makes the money. The person who provides the building makes money. And so on and so forth. Even when it doesn't function at full capacity. Today, there are no musical bands, no musical groups that go to Haiti to perform. And that impacts the Haitian rap as well. When you have Kwa de Bouquet, a lot of artisans leave the area. I was listening to Belo, who was explaining something. There were people in small shops, and those small shops have to close down because of the gang members. It's paralysis. There's no nocturnal life. For a few months, once you hit the streets at 6 p.m., everything's closed. Supermarkets are closed. No big activities going on. Be it a festival, there used to be activities from 5 p.m. on until late. Now they take place at 1 or 2 p.m. Professional people practically don't work much. They do everything online. That sector has been really, really, really impacted. We've been thinking about how to solve that matter. When we program things, we have to change the way we do things. I have an artist who's trying to put out an album, but he's asking himself, am I going to be able to do it? Somebody, you buy the music, you buy the songs, all these parties, you can't put together concerts because you can't find gasoline. And even if you do, it's very hard for people to get out at night after 11 o'clock. The national sector has been impacted a great deal. Every weekend, for example, the carnival in Haiti. Who can talk about carnival in this context? And there are people in Haiti who make large investments doing carnival. The entire national life is paralyzed, be it in educational sector or music sector. There's another one. I'm going to have to stop you right there, Radjiv. I like that sentence, is the entire national sector that's completely stopped or that's experiencing a slowdown. Education, health, cultural, music. There's a question here. I'm going to ask Sabine a question. Sabine, Lamour, how do, what impact does this crisis have on women, all generations? Well, we look at it different levels. I could tell you the biggest crisis is the risk of violence on them. The probability of a woman to be exposed to violence, including sexual violence, is something, the probability for that happening is more evident than it was before. Even when we were in a crisis in 2017, 2018, we realized during the COVID area, but now it's increased a great deal since November 2020. That's when we realized, because of COVID, it doesn't happen the same way in Haiti. People have gone out onto the streets. They've started their activities. There are several demands that were being made 2018, 2019. We realized that what we call the popular class, the situation, every time there are massacres in those areas, what we call popular areas, we realize that the question of rape is part of the strategy of terror. It's an element that allows them to keep the population hostage. And women pay a heavy price when those things happen in those areas. And it's not only women in those areas. Every time we talk about kidnapping of a woman, there are lots of questions that we have to ask. It's not, doesn't only concern women, it only concerns the men who live in our society. We have women who live in this society. Claudine, you're going to take over.
Se pou di ko sa problem nou gen, se ke gen de parol sosyete person pa vle parle, si moun nan pa vin koto pou di ou pou akompanye, ou bien pou rien, yo pa djou pose sa paske yo pe. Kesyon de zenglen dou kap rentre kay moun, sa son lot kesyon ki gen ankon. Se problem nou konen, zenglen dou se te rentre lan kay moun, atake moun, when the people come inside the people's house, the Zengadus are attacking the people in their personal house. And the violence concerns all of us because all are calling some parties that we call that are feminism, that are living with partners. And now it presents along inside the society. If in the society we look like 2 times a month, but since 2020, we've been serving the same thing. When I talk about it's the young, 30-year-old young men I'm talking about who will do those acts of rape. And what we're asking is to see if inside the organization we can talk to little girls who are raised of violence. It's not a question of not sending a child to school. The mother is just a merchant selling staples at the marketplace. And to think that the father is just a professor or maybe a mechanic, to know if we talk to them and say what happened, just don't want to go to school anymore. That's a mental problem. The last subject, Sabine, please. We can see that even the old people, 60, 70 years old, that are suffering from sexual violence on them. The gangs come in the house. It's a reign of terror. They want to make sure that the population is feared that if the gang comes, this is what happens. They burn people, cut people up, they rape the children. It's a reign of terror being established by the gangs. I have people who work all their life who never have children. They build their house. They came to become old in their country and build a little house. In a country that has no security, that has nothing, they think that they have their house in the mountain, and they're getting to the third age, the golden years of seniorhood. And here they are on dull little money and their retirement, they are suffering from sexual violence. The young women more are suffering from that. But it's a question that we have to talk to them. The doctors are getting out of them. The fact that they're all sitting locked inside the house, nobody wants to go out, the violence has imprisoned them because they rather stay there. But for COVID, specifically, you had to be able to start home and work and stay home. So, so during that time, the children were safe because in their private area, their private zone was respected on the pandemic because no one went out. But it's after now we see what's happening. And it's things that people don't want to talk about. We have places where they talk in the church or family, and they tell you it's the authorities, it's the government that has to take care of that problem, but at the same time, there has to be more an expansion of help for the children, for these women, for a woman in the third age to know how they're taking care of their body, their sick body that's getting the husband to take care of, and all the work that they've done to get there, and here they are being destroyed to face that society is telling them for them to take care of their sexual violence problem. I'm sorry, I have to move you people because I want us to finish exactly at 12:30. I think that we all touch many aspects in the problems that's going in the situation with women in the society. I'm asking the panelists if they can not to pass more than 2 minutes in your answers so we can all finish in time. We're going back again to the fuel shortage and to know the dollar going as it is for the capacity and the subvention that they see if the government ever tried to talk and give our people the answer on what's going on. I don't know if any of you can explain it and answer that question. Dr. Saint-Fleur? Like I said before, in the country by the gas, those countries have chosen to give the fuel to countries that are needed it. Like I see what France is going through the problem, and in Haiti, how can you tell people to support the population the price of gas? hospital. They're the ones who have to pay hospital. They have to pay their transportation to the hospital. They have to buy their medication. Now for school, they don't have money to put their children in private school, so they have to send their children to state school. They cannot find notebooks, books, pen, chalk to even walk. The professor has to come with the chalk to work the class because there's nothing for them. As stated before, it's not the population, it's not that they won't pay it, they just can't pay it, period. They don't have that amount of money. And to find food at the new prices that have gone up because of the transportation.
Merci en pile. Moi, je pense que la communication qui était faite pour qui ça, qui argument qui fait obliger monter pour là, du point de vue gouvernement.
I think that we already went over what the government said, why it had to raise the gas. And as the government saw the price of the cars that the government has, the gas that the government has, so they're all getting benefits, but the population, the small little use they have, and now they can function with it, but the government is functioning at the same state, the same kind of cars. I see someone who asked a question. C'est pour nous regarder, pour nous comprendre quelle dynamique de production. What is the production in Haiti? To see the mercenary sector. How are they taking care of this problem that we're facing? I didn't hear the second question that you asked. You were talking what we just said when the government to see if they got some unity, to see if they can compete and be accepted. I didn't hear one speech to tell us the real problem and what the problem of gas is giving. Yes, we know that the government says that they can't pay the extra for the people, they have to cut the subvention. So we have 2, 3 mayors, 2, 3 senators. All of them have gas for their personal function. But what answers? Nobody gave us any answers for now. So how do we say they speak like in the Bible, they give you those parables, they give you, but none of them completely tell you what the problem is. What do we believe in today? What the protesters are asking, this is what they're asking. The price of gas, the price is raising, and all that. No one speaks. They speak, but they speak in the air. They don't speak to the people. The biggest problem is the problem of communication. To try to understand the government, you will never understand them because they're lying. None of their words are truth.
Bon, moi, j'étais 4 minutes. Nous étions 4 minutes.
We have 4 minutes left. There's a lot of questions that come every time, and I see you ask it. So I'm asking the question. It came from people in the public, people in the diaspora asking, we see the problems, we hear the problems. What can we do concretely? What would we like to see, and what can there be help? How can we, the diaspora, help?
Oui.
Ok, d'accord. Moi-même, par rapport avec problème.
I'm speaking, yes. With the problem that's here, the biggest preoccupation we have, the whole speech, when I'm talking about conversation that goes to the population and touches them, for us to find that dynamic where the whole population together can listen to a speech and they can take the same road as you. They make a lot of noise, the space is fragmented into different parts, different groups, and there's no speech that has once said, this is the road we will take together, and this is the reason why. I think when a society is in a situation like that, they have to go inside of themselves before they ask for help outside. Let them start to see what do they need, what words, what do we want to talk about. We have to look inside of us to look for the resolution of conflicts we usually have between us. All the problems that we confront, where can we find how to resolve them? And where do we put them to start discussing about them? The examples we want is to look how to see how we get together and we look at them and snotty like we look down on them because we say we can never get any resolution from there. But we need to build a consensus between ourselves. We don't have to make everything, but there's a minimum where we can put our heads together and do solidarity with each other. So we can do that, put our heads together, put our heads together, and see how we can talk to each other. Thank you, Sabine.
Ok. Donc, en fait, ma répondre sur deux points.
Okay, so we went to answer to for education. I think the first thing to do, population has to put itself together to ask education where everybody has one type of school for all children in Haiti. And to let the children enter and they can eat, they can speak well, and they can live well, and learn just like any other child in any other school. That's the first one. And that can be done inside. When all are talking together, the teachers are talking, the directors talking, we must all talk. We have to stop importing decorative education. We have to organize ourselves because we need to organize. Just like the Palafel said, we have to organize ourselves. It's not just listening to the words you're saying. It's to find what the words are going to other people and you can hear the people who sit across from you. So all of them has their word to give. We are people living on this island. We must think, build a common solution that can help to separate the distance socially that are between the society, in between the society, but it must be made in common. A meeting where everybody is a person and everybody has a voice. There are other questions, but we can't answer them. They're asking how it reacts on the handicap. What can the elite, what profit do they find in this instability? The question about what we should do, I think, always come as more frequent. Is to put himself, my spoke of organization. I don't think we'll find us a solution that fast. I was very happy to have all of you. I want to thank the panelists. I want the whole team. I want to thank LACC and FIU. I don't know if we will have another event because I see many are interested in it. And I'm so sad that we cannot take more questions. We can continue with this event. I wish we can do another event. And I send all my respect to my two
You're welcome.
interpreters.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Merci un pile FIU, merci Nadev. Et moi dis tout le monde qui est là.
Merci, pas décourager. Tout a gagné.
Everybody, hold on. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I'm telling them not to be depressed. There's hope. And I'm saying thank you to everybody who came to listen to this conversation for your presence. And thank you too. It gave us an opportunity for us to speak on a problem that is going personally in every aspect in our life. Thank you.